It's day 4 at the Australian Open, and Emma Raducanu goes crashing out in the second round. We've had Alcaraz and Gauff looking fantastic, and Tien and Medvedev on collision course.
That's right, Ben. It is day 4, and most of the favourites won. It's not been a tournament with loads of surprises, especially the big contenders. All of them are still in the tournament. Like you say, Gauff, you can make a case for her being one. Sabalenka, certainly. Carlos Alcaraz, he's doing great and playing extremely well. Emma Raducanu doesn't fall within that category of someone we thought was going to go on and win the Australian Open. But despite that, she's someone you're very fond of as a tennis player. You had her at the start of the year inside your top 10. You had her progressing to this big match against Sabalenka in the next round, but it wasn't to be. And she was knocked out as the biggest shock of the day with the bookmakers. I believe Potopova was 3.2, so nothing greater than that. And yeah, it's like for me, not surprising at all. I called it in my prediction, the draw preview, where we did all of our predictions round by round. I said Potopova would beat her. I know you thought she was going to go for another round, but this is not me just coming on here to say, I told you so. It's more trying to understand why you can't see something so blatantly obvious in front of you. And that is purely the body of work post the US Open. I think what may be, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'll let you come in a second, is for you, what you see in her is technically a very good tennis player who returns extremely well and who has a really good overall game. And against some big players in tournaments last year, she took them the distance and it was really close matches and it was exciting. The thing I feel like you refuse to see, because I agree with parts of that, is the fact that she sacks her coach every time she loses. She has more injuries and retirements than anyone else. There's this ego around her where she feels entitled to be in events and just not a very good loser. I think after this event, she come out to the press and she said, you can see, I think I want to be playing a different way. I just want to hit the ball to the corners and hard. I feel like I'm doing all this variety and it's not doing what I want it to do. It's constantly her coming up with some kind of excuse. And this new coach who's not been there that long, I think his name's Roig or something like that, he's going to probably be gone in the morning.
I don't think she'll get rid of anyone this early in the season. Obviously, she didn't have a great preparation for this tournament. She's even said she didn't even really expect to be playing in Australia. So one of these...
Are you not bored, Ben, of it?
Well, one of these build-ups to a tournament, you have to really look at João Fonseca. He has a few injury concerns coming in, didn't have a good lead up, and it ultimately led to his demise going out early in the tournament.
But not every tournament is the case.
No, not every tournament. No. Yeah, exactly. I was hoping this year would start on a brighter foot for Raducanu with no injury woes, and maybe we'd just get to see just some good tennis. But unfortunately, the first thing we heard of Raducanu this year before a ball was even hit was she was pulling out of a match with Osaka. And when you've got that as your first headline of the year for Raducanu, it didn't really set us up well for what was to come at the Australian Open. Obviously, I didn't expect her to beat Sabalenka in the next round anyway. I think that would have been far too difficult. But she needs to build on something at the start of the year, and she hasn't got anything to build on right now. I do think preparation is key for someone like her. I don't think the other players who are really at the top, who have been doing it a lot longer at that level, they require as much preparation as what she will need. But that's because she's had such a stop-start career. I think we need her to play throughout a few months spell to get a run of form going before we can actually see her best level again. I do think that there were some factors that played a factor in this defeat as well. Obviously, it's the same for both players. It was very windy out there on the court. Potopova mentioned it as well. She handled the conditions a lot better, and she was quite aggressive in the big moments. And Raducanu held her hands up and said she was just better, especially in the second set. She said she was a lot better. So I think go back to the drawing board. Come and hopefully there's no injury here that's going to be a long-lasting one that's going to keep her out. I still am confident there's a level in there and there's so much potential. So I'm a bit disappointed, but I'm only one round disappointed. Obviously, Potopova's never done anything at the Australian Open before. I mean, I think it's probably one of her worst slams ever. So this for her is probably a great victory, especially beating somebody like Emma Raducanu. It's a big name, not somebody who's in good form. But it's when you get those draws, that's a great way to sort of give yourself some confidence going forward when you get like a big name, even if they're not somebody who's doing particularly well. She might now give Sabalenka an even better match, knowing that she's beaten a Grand Slam champion. And I know that we use that word because it is something that relates to Raducanu, but it's not a Grand Slam champion from the past year, 2, 3. It was 5 years ago now. And it was a one-off. So Potopova, it's a good win, but we're going to see how good she really is in the next round when she faces Sabalenka. And interesting to see, I wasn't even aware that she was now Austrian. She's now playing under the Austrian flag, which is obviously, I've got to give my alliance to Potopova as well. Obviously, my grandma, she was from Austria, from Klagenfurt. If you watched our video with Offner, you'll know that. So, yeah, I'm quite happy to see this lady under the Austrian flag, and may it bring her great luck in the Australian Open.
Yeah, and with Raducanu, like you said, maybe the wind just took its toll on her today.
Possibly. Maybe.
Is that what we're going to go with?
Well, there was one other thing as well. It wasn't just the wind. And obviously, her first match was a night match, and the second match was a day match as well. So the change in conditions, something hard to get used to as well, especially when you're not playing much tennis.
It is. I think it's really unfair on Emma Raducanu having to play so late in the day and then play during a day match the following. No, she had a day's rest, didn't she? But it's still not enough for her.
No, it's not even about the rest. It's more about just give her the same conditions. Come on.
Yeah, there's a bit of wind as well. They must have turned the machines on for that against her.
The wind machines.
But no, on a serious note, until she drops her ego, until she starts being a little bit more accountable and working as hard as everyone else, she's never going to win anything. And we saw that in the event before where she was the number 1 seed, unable to win it, went out to someone.
Taylor Preston, wasn't it?
Yeah, Taylor Preston. Just a very average player, someone who is only going to trend towards the top one, sort of the 100 mark. Only her level really keeps her where she is, because her ability-wise, I can understand why you'd put her inside the top 10. Ability is not enough. You need to apply yourself. You need to be dedicated. You need to really show a winning spirit and stick with your coaches and pick a philosophy and develop as a player. You can't, like, the commentators don't help. I mean, listening to some of them during the match, they're saying, oh, it looks like she wasn't able to move for that ball. I mean, she wasn't crippled. She wasn't unable to move. It wasn't a big injury. It's boring. It simply is really boring. And I think what you've done putting her inside the top 10 is probably one of the worst things you've ever predicted on the podcast since we've started, because it's come from me from a place of complete delusion. It's like you've not watched the last 5 years and you've just gone on some hype train of something you've seen or something you've had in a dream, but it's not possible.
Well, it's not from a dream. It's not something that I've dreamt up.
It's just not possible, though, Ben.
It was more from the fact that she went up from the year before from 56 in the world finishing to finishing last year at 29th in the world. So you'd think if you're on a progression, you may end close. It might not be top 10. She might finish, based upon that, maybe 12 or something. If she even made it there,
if she made it there, I'd eat my hat. If she makes it inside the top 20, I'll have to probably give you an apology, because that would be far better than what I'm expecting based off this. But let me know, guys, if I'm being harsh. Let me know your thoughts. Obviously, me and Ben slightly disagree on it, but I think deep down he does see some of the arguments I'm raising.
I've got
moving
some hope, though. I think that's the main thing. I'm like with British players, they're especially someone who's done something so groundbreaking. I don't want to see her just fade away into obscurity. I want to see her like regain that confidence, and I want to see her achieve something great again. That's the main thing.
Hope's a good word. I think that's kind of what you're going off, because it's definitely not your eyes. Moving on to other stories. Sorry, because I don't think we've spoken about Raducanu for 10 minutes. I mean, we can't do a whole episode on Raducanu.
Move away.
I'd like to speak about Daniil Medvedev and how he started the year. We both had him inside our top 10 to return there. He's playing very well. He's some more spectacular shots from him. He managed to beat a French player, which I think don't underestimate, something he's not able to do all too often. No. And he's wrote on the camera, not 5 sets. Is this Daniil Medvedev's year, or will Learner Tien have something to say about it?
Wow, yeah, that's the big question. It's really good to see him beating a French player, because Quentin not somebody who's particularly easy to get out of there. I'd still put him as a very, very good player. Not quite on the level of Bonzi, I would say. I think Bonzi really has just a style that just upsets Daniil Medvedev, as we've seen in past slams. But yeah, I just think Daniil, he's got a level of confidence now. That's what we need to see. Somebody can drop a set, but he's still going to come through, winning 4. Like he said, it wasn't 5 sets, so he's not being pushed all the way to the end of these grueling matches. And I think it's going to pay dividends if he comes to play someone like Learner Tien in, I believe it is, round 4 or something. He's going to need to be as fresh as possible, because that match, as we know, can go on for possibly 5 to 6 hours. And he started the year so well. This is the one Learner Tien will be looking at and thinking, I don't really want to face that style of Medvedev, because he's the one who's actually beaten me recently. But then again, on the other side of the coin, Medvedev will be looking at Learner Tien, and obviously it's a couple of matches away, or one more match away. He'll be looking at what he did to Shevchenko and thinking, oh no, he's in that form. He's in probably better form than what he was in last year when he had the breakout year against Medvedev.
It's the best form of his career. I think he's peaking. We did very well here. Got to the second week of the Australian Open last year. We had the big battle between Tien and Fonseca. Tien, if I'm being totally honest, has performed better. I know Fonseca reached higher in the rankings, so that's factually not 100% correct. But I think in the slams, particularly, Tien has outshone Fonseca, and he's doing it yet again this tournament. Of course, we know about the injuries of Fonseca this year, but we'll wait and see what happens for the rest of the season. Tien, the way he's dominating players is scary. Look at them last 2 sets, 6-1, 6-love, winning 12 of the last 13 games. He is, I think, a candidate to push on to the top 10 this year. That's how good I think he is. And Daniil Medvedev is in for a tough one. Probably Tien could even be favourite based off some of their previous matches. And Medvedev, how he can get in his own head, especially in Australia. You'd think it's going to be a 4 or 5 set at the very least. It's not going to be a straight set Daniil Medvedev victory, by no means of the imagination. And I think it's going to be a really good one for the spectators, because Tien has a really good style of play. He is super aggressive at times, but other times I find him very controlled as well. Like he's able to do what Daniil Medvedev does to a degree against certain spells of the match. And when he turns it on and he feels himself like he did in the last few sets, it's winners galore.
Yeah, he's got it from all angles as well. His backhand looks brilliant.
Good backhand.
He's a lefty as well, which you have to take into consideration. It does play an awkward factor to some of the other players on the tour, and I think especially Daniel Medvedev, because he loves the backhand cross-court rally. All he does is play into Learner Tien's forehand by doing that, which is also another weapon that he has. But I think it's just, like you said, the control from Learner Tien at such a young age, and to control his nerves as well in big moments. Neither have an easy match next match. Let's look at who they're both playing, because we're talking as if it's a foregone conclusion that they will meet in the fourth round. Nuno Borges is playing against Learner Tien, and Marozsan, your man, up against Medvedev.
For me, it is a foregone conclusion, more so Tien than the Medvedev one, because Tien, I think, will be very comfortable against the Borges. Medvedev against Marozsan, it's always the unknown with Marozsan. I would expect Medvedev to still come through it, but it could take a set or two. And that could all be the difference. If Tien has an easy one, Medvedev doesn't, is it going to impact them? Maybe. But Medvedev, I think stamina-wise, probably not many players physically as good as him. So it shouldn't play too much of an impact, the prior matches. I just hope we get it, because it is a narrative I'm looking forward to probably the most right now. And obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the future of the event, but right now, it's one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most.
It's definitely one of the rivalries, like we were saying. We need them on the tour. We've got the Sinner Alcaraz. I think this is a slightly lower tier rivalry, but still one which always brings a fantastic match, and one that keeps you on the edge of your seat, because you never know what's going to happen when those two get on court. Obviously, Tien made the fourth round last year, lost to Sonego in the fourth round. He took out Medvedev in the second round. If he makes the fourth round again, he'll have a much better, more informed Daniel Medvedev, who, as I showed a second ago, is 7-0 this year so far. So he is in very good form. This is the Medvedev of old. We used to see him coming in, winning big, long winning runs on hard court. So I'm excited. Fingers crossed, everybody. Let us know if you want to see that match in the fourth round, and who would you have winning it in the comments section. I want to skip away. We go from one Russian to another Russian, and one who, I know we were talking about Raducanu. Oh, can she, can't she? It's all a bit all over the place. Well, this one's completely the opposite. She can. There's no ifs or buts. Mirra Andreeva, yet again, performing against a Sakkari, which you thought, if she turns up, she could bring a good level. And she didn't really get to play until the second set. Got bageled in the first set by Andreeva, who looked unbelievable, and then got an early break in the second set. And it looked like it went. Sakkari was even hitting her racket on the floor, just thinking, what can I do here? She finally brought a bit of a level, but it was just enough to get a 6-4 loss in the second set. And Andreeva, as funny as ever in her post-match interviews, talking about playing some sort of tag with Conchita Martinez in the back rooms whilst after her matches, whilst running for the toilet or something. But yeah, it's all a bit bizarre. Quite a funny girl. But yeah, excited. She faces Rusa next from Romania. Expect that to be another win.
No, she is funny and so talented at 18 years old. You have to pinch yourself sometimes to realise how young she is. And speaking about contenders to win slams, obviously Coco Gauff, Sabalenka, who both won. Mirra Andreeva, you've got to include in this kind of form. Last year was, after all their Masters successes and a good start, it was a bit on and off, but to be expected from time to time. You're not going to be perfect throughout the whole course, but she's a mainstay inside the top 10, no doubt. And I think the way she's progressing even this year, like, how's it going to be over the next 2-3 years, or even up to 10 years? This is a Grand Slam champion for sure. I'll be shocked if she doesn't win a Grand Slam within the next few years. Could even win this one this year. She's ready. She's Grand Slam ready.
She definitely is. The only thing that worries me a little bit still with her is the power. When Sakkari finally did get her game together, the power was noticeable, that how she was able to push Andreeva back deeper and deeper on the court. So, but the consistency is the key thing.
But that happened with Alcaraz. Sorry, with Alcaraz. Remember when he was sort of 17, 18?
Yeah,
or even
exactly.
before 16, 17. It might be a bit different for men. But
Slightly.
there was a period where he was just missing that extra bit of power to get himself to the next level. He got it quite quickly. And I'm sure Mirra Andreeva will follow that same path as Alcaraz.
Yeah, she's going to have the best team behind her, and she's going to know the exact things she needs to add to her game to get to that next level. She's just so close. She's just there. There's obviously a little bit of a mentality thing as well that she probably needs to overcome some in big moments, but everything will come. It'll all click into place. Coco Gauff had similar levels of pressure on her, remember, when she was starting out. Everyone expecting her at 17, 16. You should be winning a slam or going deep. They're so young. You have to realize how young that is. You're not really even fully developed as a human being yet, and you're expecting people to be already winning slams. I think it's different these days to what it was. Like, you used to see people winning slams at 16 back in the 80s or back in the 90s. I don't think it's going to happen so much anymore, because you have to be the full package and you have to be fully grown to be able, unless it's a shock, unless it's a complete shock that you win one, you will have to be the all-round game, the all-round physique. It's not going to happen at 16 years old. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen anymore. Tennis has come on. The human bodies have come on. And the top players in the sport, like your Alcarazes and Sinners, I'll be damned if I see a 16-year-old beat one of them in this day and age. And I think the same goes on the women's. You put a 16-year-old up against Sabalenka and try and say, go on, hit with her on the baseline, see how far you get. Not going to get too far. So Coco Gauff, though, we're just referencing her. Brilliant performance against Danilovic. So good, her movement around the court. Danilovic is a decent player, can hit the ball hard, but Coco Gauff, if not the best, one of the best, I'd say top 3 movers on the women's tour, and just clinical. 6'2", 6'2", easy as you like.
Yeah, same with Sabalenka, 6'3", 6'1", give her a mention.
Yep.
What you'd expect. Svitolina, really good build-up, winning an event before. Obviously, that can be a blessing and a curse sometimes, doing so well in the events prior to a Grand Slam, but it's not phased her at all. And she's got a really good record in second rounds of Grand Slams. So players who've played more than 10 matches, she's not lost. So very, very good for her. And I expect her to keep going through. Back to the men's, I'm going to group 3 players together, really. Different ways of getting there. Maybe not for de Minaur and Zverev, it was the same for them, but they both come through in 4 sets.
Okay.
Troubled in the second set was Zverev. De Minaur dropped the first set in a tie break. But yeah, they're far superior, them two, and it was always going to go that way. Workman-like performance. De Minaur probably the most impressive, especially how he closed out them last 3 sets, 2-2 and a 1. And then Bublik was the other one I want to speak about. Inside the top 10 now. He won in straight sets against Martin Fucsovics. Yeah. And he was talking after the match, and he had a little section of fans who was boosting him and helping him get through the match. But he's very mature. I don't think he's messing around so much in the sport. He is someone who no one will want to play. This is like I'm trying to find like some kind of similarity. I feel like maybe like a Felix of 3 years ago when he had like a really good Australian Open. I think he lost to Daniel Medvedev, but it was quite tight and tough. I was doing a watch along. I don't know. He's kind of in that bracket of, or like a Berrettini over the years at Grand Slams, who can just beat you. Bublik for me is that level right now. He is the player who you're not thinking is going to win the slam, but he has got the ability to knock out a contender.
Yeah, don't forget he's in that same
TFO as well was another one who was like that at the US Open.
Yeah, no, it's totally right. There are certain players who just want to not be in their section of the draw. And I think that you've coupled these group together, and I think you've done it right, because Bublik being in the same breath as Alex de Minaur makes sense. They're in the same section and a potential 4th round matchup with each other. Etcheverry is next on the list. for Bublik, which I think is another winnable match. But Etcheverry came through against Arthur Ferry. As we said, Arthur Ferry got a bit lucky in the first round playing an injured Kaboli. And TFO could be the next matchup for Alex de Minaur. Is that right? Yeah. And so Bublik versus Alex de Minaur. If I'm not wrong, isn't that the matchup where I swear he beat him at some point fairly recently last year, but I'll have to look that one up just to be on the safe side.
So in Paris, Bublik beat de Minaur in the quarterfinal stage 2-1.
Roland Garros, there you go. That's the one I was looking for. He beat him on a clay court. And this was
and it was Paris as well afterwards. Paris Masters, 31st of October. Before that, 29th of May, like you say, at Roland Garros, second round, Bublik beat him as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good for de Minaur, and I can probably see it maybe going the other way. As much as de Minaur, I think, is a better player, I feel Bublik would beat him if they were to face off right now.
I think it's a great match, that one.
Good one, yeah. 5 sets.
For the crowd, that is an ideal match to go watch, because
another good one. Yeah,
you're going to have one player who's going to be bringing consistency, pace around the court, loads of good shot making ability, and on the other side, you've got a bit of a joker, court jester, but also somebody who now has this new air of confidence. Somebody who knows that he's already beaten de Minaur at a slam last year, and Bublik, if he was to beat de Minaur, this would be quarterfinals again. So I think that was his first one ever when he made the French Open last year. And if he was to beat de Minaur here, he would go into another quarterfinal, and it would be, last time it was Yannick Sinner. This time it could be Carlos Alcaraz. So you don't get easy matches in quarterfinals, especially if you're in either of those sides' section of the draw. So I just think that Alex de Minaur, he needs to up his level a bit, because Medvedev overpowered him in that first set, and for parts, I'd say, of maybe the second set, until de Minaur really started to wear him down and do what he does best to those. Well, he's a 90 in the world, Medvedev. So that just goes to show, when you're that number in the world, the longer the match goes, the more you fade. But Bublik's not that. He's number 10 in the world. He's top 10 now, and that's for a reason. He's not going to fade. He's proven he's played 5 sets against de Minaur, and he's beaten him already. So it's and on clay, which is an even more grueling style of match. This is suiting to Bublik. Fast courts for big servers and big power hitters, and that's everything he is.
Yeah, for sure. Any other stories you want to discuss?
We can. I was going to say the women's was all pretty much just looked like straight sets going all the way down. I mean, we can give a shout out to Mboko winning again. We also had, who was it? Oh, Sonmez as well winning again.
Well, that was big for Turkey. There's a lot of Turkish fans who enjoyed it there in the stadium.
Yep.
And she is someone who did well last year in one of the slams. I'm not sure which one it was now. Was it the US Open? She got to maybe third round or something.
I think
but
so. From
the qualifier to be reaching a third time for the first time here at the Australian Open, she is, I think, the one that got away from me. That's how I just feel about it, because I was so close to picking her as my wild card for the year. I think she is going to do very well on all the surfaces, and I would expect her to be around sort of the 50 mark. I mean, I could even make an outside bet with you that Sonmez will be higher in the rankings than Raducanu come the end of the year.
Wow, there you go. There's a lot of outside bet. I'm going to be a lot of money down or up come the end of this year, I think. It's not good.
We'll have to update our Excel.
That's it. I'm just looking at, there's obviously 2 matches playing currently at the moment. One of them's interrupted due to rain. Obviously, we've had some covers on courts. Paolini up 1-0 against Freck. And obviously, we just mentioned Francis Tiafoe, but he is up 2-0 against Komosana. That will be the next match for Alex de Minaur, which looks likely unless Komosana does something crazy and comes back, makes it a 5-setter. Don't see that happening. Other matches, I think that's it. We have one more match that's left to play, because it's obviously the time has got away with the weather. Eva Jovic versus Priscilla Hon. That one should be a great match. Obviously, Jovic, a real big young talent, and Priscilla Hon is from that side of the world, so she'll have a lot of fans cheering her on as well.
Yeah, let's wrap it up there. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you tomorrow for another roundup at the Australian Open.